You are now in the realm of enlightenment and transformation.
Welcome to Chief Speaks.
All music performed and produced by Yuya.
Enlightenment comes from allowing yourself to journey through the dark shadow of death, the primordial abyss of wisdom's waters. For it is the treasures and mysteries that lie waiting in the dark that transform us and propel us to a new enlightened state. One should never aspire to live in the light nor the dark, but should journey between the two in order to evolve the overall reality into a self-actualized creation. Knowledge is your light, as wisdom is your darkness. The bold interplay of the two in your life leads you to an enlightened understanding of yourself and the universe you've created. Male is your enlightenment, female is your transformation, child is your evolution. Woman, accept the light into your darkness, so it may enlighten you. Man, go bring your light boldly into the darkness, so that it may transform you. Enlightenment and transformation.
I love you so much because you just don't know what you've just done for me. Thank you so much.
Wow. This is like the best call I've had in ages on BTR.
So this show was meant for me to be able to hear today, and I'm so thankful.
That's his home.
Therefore, now a new pathway has now been cut in order to get to the Almighty, where there may not have been one. So the communication with them, if they have enough power and strength to talk to us, the communication will be very clear.
That's one of the reasons I don't get into the current events thing too much, because it starts to become a perpetual alarm clock that we just keep hitting snooze on. I speak to the ascended masters, quote unquote. I talk about spiritual stuff, but I also speak about some very practical, we can do today things.
Be as natural as you can be with your spiritual. You can't always go by your feelings, because your feelings are corrupted. Your feelings are just as corrupted as everything else, your chakras and everything else. You got to know what's beyond you, and that's why we have elders. We can't do everything. You can't get everything out of books or weekend certification. You can have the most powerful, ancient, oldest, most, as far as you know, truthful tradition in your hands. And if you still have a dirty spirit, you're not going to get anything out of it. You're not going to learn anything. You're not actually going to grow. I try to teach in a way where I make myself obsolete. That's always been my goal, to make myself obsolete.
I really wanted to, kind of big you up. I think you're awesome.
There's a lot of elders out here right now that want to know what's going on. They're not getting on Twitter and stuff like that, but they want to be up on the new stuff. Sit down and have some conversations with them. It's not always about hearing their story. It's also about being news reporters for them and letting them know, like, yeah, this is what's happening right now. They may tell you something about what happened in Charleston that you couldn't even. Your spirituality has to create sane spiritual family. Okay, and that family exists first inside of you. You have to express the different expressions of that rainbow coalition of spirits inside of you first. Okay, don't let communities hijack that rainbow. See, the problem is when we come into the conscious community, the dudes are doing the same thing that the women are doing.
I just want to say that I really enjoy your show every Sunday, and my friend and I call it going to church. When we call in, we'll be like, you going to church? And I'm like, where have y'all been at?
God cannot go against its own truth. So anytime you have an inkling that God is going against its own truth, then God is no longer behaving as God. So therefore the spiritual community doesn't recognize God. You dig where I'm coming from? Or can we have a new thought? Can we step outside of the books for a second and have a new conversation about hair weaves and wigs? Can we have a new conversation about homosexuality? Can we have a new conversation about vegan eating? What are we doing? It's a good day for exorcism.
347-945-7680. Call in and let's build. Greetings and welcome to another Chief Speaks on Enlightenment and Transformation and the Anu Nation's various networks. I want to thank you for joining me today. And on this beautiful Sunday, of course, we bring you into this experience, enlightenment and transformation, which is a product of the Anu Life Global Ministries, the Anu Nation, the Sadulu House, and all the other stuff we have happening. But I want to thank all of you who have made an appearance today, and especially you loyal every Sunday listeners. Like the sister says in the intro soundbite, those of you who consider this to be your temple, shrine / church experience, I want to thank you all for being here. My name is Chief Yuya, for those of you who are coming for the first time. And again, welcome, especially those of you who come through the archives. I know the archives is like a lonely place. It's kind of like cyberspace almost, where it's like you're just listening in your own time, and you may only be listening by yourself, but there's a lot of people who tune in for the archive. So that's why I always give some acknowledgement to my archive listeners. But again, I want to thank you all for coming through. And as you know, this month we've been focusing on the topic of race first, okay? And just a quick recap, some of the things that we covered in the ideology of race first is looking at race as an actual consciousness. And once we begin to look at something or anything as an actual consciousness, we can also see it as a dimension, because each consciousness that we can conjure, whether it be an Orisha, whether it be an angel, whether it be Prince, whether it be any type of great archetype, is actually a dimension unto itself. It can be measured. How Prince are you? How James Brown are you? We would look at certain performers even, and we would see them maybe mimic or emulate some of the things that maybe Michael Jackson did, and we would judge them by their ability to dance like Michael Jackson. So therefore, that is a dimension, because it has a unit of measurement. Just like height, how tall are you? Are you as tall as LeBron James? Are you as short as Pinky the porno star? There's just different measurements, and they all represent a dimension. So the idea of consciousness applying itself to race, or vice versa, race applying itself to consciousness, is actually a dimensional aspect or a dimensional perspective. So your race, whatever it is a dimension unto itself, which comes with its own dualistic and trinistic captures and ensnarements. So, it's not just the good and bad, which would be the dualistic, but when we look at things from a trinistic perspective, Trinity, 3, we're looking at not only what is happening in the higher consciousness, we're looking at what's happening in the subconsciousness, and then we're looking at what's happening from an operational perspective. So, 1, higher consciousness, operational, which we usually call the earth plane, like how we're getting through our life, and then the bottom one would be the subconscious perspective. So, race is so much more complex, as we've been covering, and I hope, you guys have been able to glean something from all these discussions, but race is so much more complex than how you look. It's so much more complex than how you act. There are much deeper spiritual implications, because again, each racial designation is a dimension unto itself and necessary. When we look at the laws of harmony, we look at the laws of balance, very simple example I could give you. And I think it's an important one, because we live in a time where there is so much internal desire for control and domination, as we covered in our last segment when we were speaking about the movie, The Book of Eli, right? And we dealt with just the control mechanisms that were sought after by using religion, or more specifically using the Bible, as opposed to one who had no desire to control, but had those same principles and commandments inside of them, which by definition is the infilling of the Holy Spirit. To be filled with the Holy Spirit doesn't mean that, like in the book of Acts, you're jumping around and you're dancing and things like that. Being filled with the Holy Spirit means that the commandments of the Almighty, the laws, are alive inside of you. That's being filled with the Holy Spirit. So it's when you're moving through the world righteously. Righteousness is what? Righteousness is doing what is relevant for the time. I'll give you a good example. Something that just happened yesterday. Hey, everyone, this happens to us all. So my youth is gonna hear this. And Baba, why'd you bring that up? But my youth got into a fight yesterday. Not the first fight. But basically, long story short, it was an incident. There's another young man who's much older than him. We're probably has him by about 3-4 years, but that's a lot when you're dealing with teenagers. And they were all sitting outside, and some of the older youth were speaking about a young lady and cracking jokes, who was actually a young lady that my youth had dealt with previously, and they were asking him questions. Did she do this? Did she do this to you? Did she do that? So he was like, get off my member. Don't worry about what I do. So this one individual who's like the tough guy of the town, like in their age, he's a knockout king. He was like, who are you talking to like that? So it's my youth, so you already know, I'm talking to you. But he let something happen, which was so far out of his training. He let the young man, he was sitting down, and he let the young man stand over them, and they arguing while he's sitting with a book bag on. So of course you know what happens next. The guy who was standing up hits him, and then my youth jumps up, tries to take off his book bag while they're over there grappling. So it wasn't a good look. But one of the things he kept saying, was, Baba, what was I supposed to do? What was I supposed to do? I was trying to take my book bag off. He snuck me. We weren't even squared off yet or anything. And I'm saying, well, you're a boxer. My youth is 6'1". So I said, you've been training since you're 3 years old. You're now training for the Golden Gloves, and shout out to all of the people who participated in Golden Gloves yesterday. But I said, so word gets around. People know you're nice with your hands and you're not a little person. So I said, of course he snuck you, So he said, yeah, but we were supposed to score. Like, he's stuck in this, and that's that sickness. I had to give him some medicine for that. I said, do you not realize from an environmental perspective what's going on now with this situation? You're stuck on one thing. You sound like an insane person. This young man stood over you, snuck you, hit you in the eye. So now the rules change. So he said, well, what should I do? Because whenever there's an incident, we always do a fight replay or whatever, even if it's with a young lady. Well, you said this, what did she say? And da-da-da-da-da. No, you messed that up, son. You should have said it like this. Go back tomorrow when you see her and tell her this, But in this, so we replayed the fight. And from the moment he was standing, I said, well, you should have stood up. And this is how you should have stood. You should have kept, maintained eye contact and stood up and, still change your elevation while looking at him. Don't look down and stand up, because you're going to get put into a guillotine headlock. That's what most young people they do the guillotine, try to choke you out. But I said, after the snuck came, after he hit you, which you should have did, and I said, come here, and I grabbed my other user's brother. I said, come here. I said, let me show you. I'm going to show you on your brother. So I said, okay, he hit me in the eye. He hits me in the eye, and I grabbed his genitals. And he, whoa, Baba, what you doing? I said, see, but he backed way up. So he was like, yeah, but I said, listen, you can grab his genitals, you can punch him in the genital, he's right there, or you could have just grabbed him and pulled him down to where you were. And he was like, there was a ledge over a cliff where we were sitting, we were going to fly. I said, so what? So what? But you're evening things up. Now, the point I'm making with this is that a lot of times we're not aware when the game changes. We're not aware of when the situation changes. So again, and this goes to the show I did when I was talking about harmony and vibrations. A lot of times we're out of harmony with the actual environment, what's going on. So now someone is fighting dirty, and you're still sitting there trying to, do fisticuffs. When from the moment he fights dirty, I'm hitting him in his genitals immediately. I told him, he was right there. Boom. Hit him in his genitals. He's gonna back up because now he thinks you're crazy. What is this kid doing? But now you can stand up and actually square off and do what you're supposed to do. So because the culture is not what you're assuming or trying to impose on the actual environment. It's a different culture that someone else has planted a flag first and said, no, this is how we're gonna do it. I'm gonna sneak and punch you in the face. Okay, so it's just like, I know that's a graphic example, but I think a relevant one. Those of us who are parents, you probably have had experiences like that before, or maybe not, I don't know. But we have to know when to change the game up. And that's really, it goes about that balance aspect. And sometimes when we look out into the earth, we see things that we can't reconcile. So what we do is we create this small bubble of culture, a small environment in our head, and say, this is how it should be. And then we get stuck in that, not realizing, well, we have to acknowledge what is. And that's part of the dualistic of things, where we're seeing matter, but then we also have energy. Because dualism is really just between matter and energy. That's all really dualism is. The matter is feminine, mother, but there's a masculine aspect too, because it's defined. But matter, you have matter, which is the matter of all creation, how things come to being, and then you have energy. And energy is the movement and the propulsion and the compulsion to be, to do. So when you put these two together, you get a conflict. It's not smooth. It's not like they just, you have matter and energy and they intertwine and then they go and they create life. It's not like that. It's like intercourse. It's chaotic and we're fighting for the egg and everyone's racing to get to where we need to get to. It's a lot of chaos. But through that, we experience, you see? And that's what the divine, that's what all this is about, an experience. The divine spirit doesn't experience anything. That's why a lot of times we have these ideas about the Orisha and all these different energies, and we say, well, they understand it, this, that, and they understand that, and I'm crying. They don't understand that because they haven't experienced. And experience is between that need for control and domination and that need to connect with everything without dominating and controlling it. In between the two of those lies experience. Again, when you have energy and you have matter, when it comes, because matter is undifferentiated. It just sits. It doesn't do anything. It's like a swamp or a lagoon. It's just sitting. And then you have the energy, which a lot of times is spirit, or let's say air, for instance, because spirit, actually defined, the word spirit means air or wind or breath. So you got water just sitting there minding its business, and then you have air that comes along, or spirit, and troubles it. But when it troubles it and it moves it, it creates new organisms. You see? So it's that interaction between energy and between matter that gives rise to experience, or that interaction between control and indifference that gives rise to experience. To make it even more simple, the interaction between love and fear give rise to experience. Both are necessary on the planet. You have to have love, you have to have fear, or there'll be no experience. And again, as divine beings, we all came down to experience. So even when we're thinking about racial issues, and a lot of times with racial issues, when there's things that we can't reconcile, we create this bubble in our head where we say, well, I'm going to create an internal culture where certain races won't be here, or certain races won't bother me, things like that. And you have to understand that there's a balancing game that's occurring in the universe. For instance, if we were to look at, here's an easy one. Let's look at plant life, right? What do plants primarily expel? We know carbon dioxide, right? Oxygen, sorry about that. And what do humans primarily expel? Carbon dioxide. So what do plants need? They need carbon dioxide to live. What do the humans need? Humans need the oxygen. So there's a symbiosis that occurs between the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom, right? We give them carbon dioxide, they give us oxygen. Now, and that's how we know there's a very interesting connection with the Orisha Ogun. Ogun, again, meaning herbs, Ogun. And Ogun, meaning herbs or vitality, connects us to the plant kingdom, right? And what does that have to do with, whatever, right? Well, because the carbon dioxide thing is key. We know that Ogun is also, in Roman form, is the deity Mars. And Mars, we know, has a planet. Mars, the red planet, right? And the atmosphere of Mars is like 93% carbon dioxide, you see? So there's your connection, Mars connecting again to the plant kingdom, keeping things alive, or vitality or strength. We also use herbs again for vitality and strength. But just from a basic scientific perspective, it's that carbon dioxide, the relationship there connects it to the planet Mars, again connecting it to the deity Ogun, or also who you may know as Mars, or who you may know as Aries or Heru Kuti. You know, there's many different forms of Ogun, you know, or that carbon dioxide connection to the plant kingdom. But again, so let's say now we have this symbiosis. So let's say if there was a movie that came out years ago, The Happening, I think. I'm probably totally off. But I'll say what happened and then you'll know. I think it was The Happening. But the premise of the movie was that basically because of the abuse that humans waged on the planet, the plant life on the planet began to release spores that were toxic to humans and it was just killing them. Okay, because it was basically plant life developed an internal defense mechanism because of what was happening with humans. So it just started wiping them off the planet, right? Cool idea, cool movie, definitely brings you into that place where you should feel guilty and sorry about whatever it is that you're doing to destroy the environment. Because really when we say we're destroying the environment, it doesn't mean that you're just cutting down a tree, it means you're destroying yourself. You know, that's what they say, like, save the planet. It's not about the planet. Nobody cares about the planet. Let's keep it real. It's about saving you. Because the thing is, but let's look at the premise of the movie. And that's what I thought about when I first watched the movie. I said, unless these plants have evolved, if they killed the humans, they wouldn't get any more carbon dioxide and they would die themselves. So it's really a kamikaze mission. You see? So there's a balance that exists. So even though the plants may not do the humans correctly and the humans may not do the plants correctly, they actually still need one another to continue to traverse through the life experience. You see? So when we're looking at different racial designations, it's very important for us to kind of consider that before we just say, oh, this one did something wrong or historically does something wrong, or this one historically does something right. Let's look at the factual environment of the now time. You know, and sometimes that's a huge issue with us just as a people. We're very quick to either vilify people and we're also very quick to deify people without really looking at the actual facts of the now time reality. You know, what's really needed right now, what's going on right now. We're just way too quick. We hear a couple of things. I've seen this so many times, even in the media. There could be someone that we admired for years, and then something comes out. They're suspected. There's some allegations. Now we vilify it. We don't even know what the heck is going on. And in the other breath, we'll say, oh, the television lies. Tele-vision. Telling lies to your vision. So why are you believing that? And then in the same instance, someone will come up and do 3 or 4 good things or connect with 3 or 4 points together and we'll say, that's our new so-and-so. That's our new hero. That's the new Messiah. You know, without really looking at the factual context. You know, speaking about race first, there's an aspect that I was going to speak on that I think is important. For those like myself who are melanin dominant, one of our huge challenges, and this was kind of brought out in the movie Django, or is it Legend of Django? I don't remember the whole title, but there was a scene in that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, and where they were at the dinner table, right? Which, I mean, the movie was basically a cartoon. Everyone got so excited, like, yeah, this is a liberation film. It's Quentin Tarantino. He has no respect for indigenous or melanin dominant people. It was a cartoon. But in any event, so he was sitting there speaking about the submissiveness of the black race. And he was saying, if you look at these indentations in the back of the skull, it's da-da-da-da-da. He's breaking the whole thing down. And what I'm watching that and I'm saying that's really code word. What he's speaking about is not necessarily the submissiveness, but the innate and inborn desire to worship, the innate and inborn desire to connect to a higher being or a divine source or an unseen world. That's what that submission really equates to in reality. It's not that this is just people who love to serve other people, you know, not as cocky and arrogant as we can be. But so in any event, that connects to one of the huge issues that we do have, and it's that belief. I was reading something recently about an individual who has positioned himself through a lot of work in the conscious group as a leader of sorts. I don't know of what, because he's not actually, he just does lectures and speeches, but it is what it is. And I told you guys I got a rule. I don't speak about my people in public, so you're not going to get a name. But in any event, there were some things that came out about this individual, and I noticed a lot of the responses that people were saying was that I believe in him. You know, now there's a mountain of facts showing that this individual, his character is questionable. You know, there may be some serious character defects there. And not only his character, another important thing when we're dealing with consciousness that we skip over a lot, his motives. You know, a lot of times we don't look at that. We say, well, I'm just here for the information. And you don't realize that if you don't research the individual who you're following behind like that, as to not only what their motives are, but here's the most important question, most important thing. Why did you get into this to begin with? That one we never even, it just doesn't come up. You know, in the spiritual community, often it does, because people have these personal spiritual experiences that they want to know if maybe you came into it in the same way. So they'll say, oh, what made you start getting into African, especially because it seems so alternative. You know, we all seem to be oppressed, you know, and overran with the big three religions, that when someone is doing something different, it's like, how'd this start? But when it comes to like these quote unquote conscious leaders, why did they start this? Did you get into this for women? Or for men? Or for little boys? Or for little girls? Did you get into it for money? Did you get into it because you were a social misfit and you couldn't make it outside of this environment? So, you know, you came in here because the Matrix spit you back out. So you came here running to reinvent yourself. Did you get into it because of that? Did you get into it because you found you had a little talent, maybe for speaking, or you were funny, or you're handsome, or you're cute, or you can wrap your hair a certain way and you figured out, whoa, I can make some money doing this? Did you get into it because you're lonely? Did you get it? You know, I mean, we could go through a whole long list of things, but that's an important question to ask a lot of times when we're looking at these individuals. Why did you start this? You know, and as I was seeing, so many comments were saying, and even people were speaking to me about it, I believe in him. And I said, you're insane. What do you mean you believe in him? What, are we back in religion again? This is a messianic figure who now you don't even question, that they're beyond scrutiny. You know, their ways are mysterious, and you know, and so you could never figure out what they're really up. No, don't believe in anyone. Don't believe anything that's even being said to you. Don't believe. Toss it out. Belief is for children, because sometimes you need to enact belief on your children to get them to listen to you, to keep them out of dangerous situations. So you'll say something to them off the wall, just so you can box them in to a certain place, you know. And then when they grow and they start researching for facts, you got to open the door and say, yeah, well, you know, this is what it really is. Now you're old enough to hear what it is, you know. But that idea of belief, man, is something, when we speak about race first, I would say for melanin dominant people, you got to stop doing that, man. We really need to stop. I'm not going to say we, because I don't do it. Those of you who do it, you got to stop. You gotta stop it, man. You know, when this is not a popularity contest. Somebody comes up and you like them, they're flashy, they say a couple of slick things, or they put a couple of ideas together and you're like, wow, man, I never looked at it that way. And now all of a sudden you believe in them. You believe in the mission that they're saying to you, but you're not really looking at the psychological history or the cultural history or the communal history. How do they interact with their community? How are they received by their community? And then when you start hearing or seeing a lot of craziness with them, you're seeing right there, this is how they interact with their community. This individual is not what they purport to be. It's not hard. You got to understand something. We live in the information age. It's not hard to be smart anymore. It's not hard to put things together anymore. We're in the information age. You can watch a YouTube video. You don't even have to read a book anymore. You can watch a YouTube video, sit there with a note and pad, pick out 5 or 6 slick points that popped up. Then you can put up your own video, just say those 5 or 6 slick points, and then in the video we're like, you know, I would go deeper, but we don't really have time for it right now because I'm trying to make this video short. So I'll get with you guys next time. Then it's like, whoa, we got a new leader. It's just that simple nowadays. It's just that simple. So I had that conversation and it led me to something else. And I say this with a heavy heart, really heavy heart, something that I wanted to warn you guys about. And this is not even, we're taking a side road for a second. I actually meant to start this Sunday segment off with what I'm getting ready to say, but I actually went somewhere else. But you know, I let spirit flow. Something came to my attention recently. I was working with someone I was working with a group of women. And there was something said to me that for me was very disturbing. And they were informing me about some of the conscious community hustlers that are out there that they've come into contact with. Just some of the bad experiences that they've had and this and that, and we were kind of going through it. And one of the things that they shared with me, and this happened to more than one of them, they said that they met individuals online via social media, and these individuals proclaimed to them that they were priests, right? And they started working with them online, right? And they were asked to send naked pictures of themselves, okay? And this was more than once. You know, when it came up, it was like, you too. Because I was on a conference call. You know, I was doing a group consultation. And that's really, really not cool. I've heard of that happening before. I've spoken to clients where they share that, but it's been somewhat isolated. You know, so to hear that now maybe this is a trend, I felt I really needed to speak on it because that's not cool. You know, as men, that's not what we're supposed to be doing, especially in this day and time. That is not what we're supposed to be doing. So let me explain something. I'm going to say something, and please, if you don't remember anything else, mainly men and women, because I have seen also priestesses who have tried to take advantage of their position. I've seen a lot of that too. So it's on both sides. And I'm going to explain something just in terms of that piece. No matter what the work is that someone is doing with you spiritually, if they actually know how to do anything, which so many don't, whatever the work is, they actually don't need to physically see you. Many of you can attest, I've done readings for you, I've done consultations with you, life path readings, I've done spiritual work for you, and have never laid my physical eyes on you. Never. And I mean, for some of you, you've probably never seen me. Now, we've been doing the videos maybe 2 months now, 2-3 months, maybe 3-4 months. You guys know I'm not good at time. It could have been 6 months, but I think about 3-4 months. We've been doing the videos where I've been on camera, because you know, for this entire 4 or 5 year run of Enlightenment Transformation, I have not been on camera, because you know it's not something I enjoy doing. But regardless of that. So some of you have never even seen me. You've never seen me speak or whatever. I could have been a robot. But I did the work, did the readings. They were accurate. The work worked. Oh my God, and everything's fixed, right? We don't need to see you physically. That goes for you men and for you women. And I have had people send me pictures before. Not all lewd ones. I have had some of those. But I haven't requested them, but not of a client or of a student. Now what I do in my private life with the women I'm with is something different. But let's say if the first situation that came in was a woman who had some womb issues. And of course the guy said, send me a picture of your vagina. She sent it. Then he wanted more. She's sending all these pictures and I'm like, first off, you don't have to do that. Send pictures of your vagina. But aside from that, I don't think a person would need more than one. Now, this was an individual that she then told me she later slept with. He told her, which is another thing that happens a lot, I want to warn you guys about. He said, I need a ticket. I need to come to you to do some work for you. Send me a plane ticket. She did that. She said as soon as he walked in the house, they went at it. Now, of course, I'm looking at her like, you being slick too. Come on, be accountable for some of this, So I didn't remove her from the seat of blame, which she didn't like, but I said, you hot in the crotch, obviously. You were lonely, and maybe he turned you on, maybe he's smart, and he had a certain strength about him, and you appreciated that. You wanted to sleep with him. But the point is the way it started with these pictures, and I was seeing other occurrences of this. So again, I want to just reiterate, we don't need to see pictures of you. And when I say we, those who can actually do work. If somebody asks you for a picture, let's say if you have breast cancer, send me a picture of your breast. Go the other way. If you're having a womb issue, send me a picture of your vagina. No. Even if someone wants to do a reading, they don't really necessarily need to see a picture of you. If they're saying like I'm having trouble, because I have worked with priests who they have trouble, they can't really do phone readings, so they'll send people to me because I'm fine with it. But maybe they might ask for a picture. But even then, the proper protocol would be either try to set up a face-to-face with the person, or just tell them, hey, you need to go to so-and-so. He or she is good at, empathic readings. I kind of need to read some of your physiognomy first. Or maybe some people work through pictures. Just look at a picture and it comes like that. Everybody has their own technique. But looking at naked body parts, that's not necessary. So yeah, that really disturbed me because obviously I don't want to see anyone taken advantage of. And I certainly, even more than that, because some of you want to be taken advantage of. It's like Annie Lennox, Eurythmics. Some of them want to be used by you. It's true. But more importantly than that, this type of behavior will cause people to blaspheme against the culture. Which is one of the reasons why I don't attend a lot of events and I don't even use my Yoruba name. Because there's so much garbage sometimes that's associated with individuals who lose their minds because they've never seen a pretty woman before, or they've never had a handsome man sit down in front of them and say, okay, what do you want me to do? So they don't know how to handle that. And again, sometimes it backs up to, why did you come here? What were your original intentions? Maybe you got laid off from your job. You say, hey, I can do readings. Off the book money. Maybe you had some tax issues. Maybe you had a child support issue and your bank account was being garnished. So you're saying, okay, well, I can go set up a table and a chair in the park and put my tarot cards out and my little sign and I can do readings, cash. There's a lot of different reasons why people may do what they do. So, just please be careful with that. Please be careful. That really, like I said, it really concerned me as a chief, as a father, as a spiritual instructor and guide. There's certain things, there's a code. And I did the video on the honor code before. I did the video on integrity before. I did the video on credibility before. those are very important things, because not only does it ensure that the community that I'm working with knows that they're safe, but it also ensures that the spiritual community that I'm working with can funnel and channel things to me without concern of, me going the wrong way with it, other than what was intended when the information or the sciences were given to me. So that's important. And that's why before you get into a lot of these things, that's why I knew spiritual training, phase 1 is ministry to the self. You got to deal with yourself first, man, before you start getting all these different initiations and this and that, and I'm rolling with this one, I'm studying with this one. You, how are you? Do you still are your vices in check? Are you honest about who you are? Do you know who you are? If you're a man and you say, okay, well, look, man, it's been a dry spell. I haven't maybe been with a woman in years, 2-3 years. It's been Pamela, and you now know that you're going to come into an environment where you're going to deal with women who are going to expose their greatest vulnerabilities to you. If you know you cannot handle that, then you need to do some things to prepare yourself to be in that environment. And sometimes it's not just about self-control, it's about being honest with yourself. You may say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna have to get a girlfriend. I'm gonna have to get a wife, and be clear as to why that is. Nothing wrong with saying, yeah, my sexual survival is important. And just like the people who I've initiated over the years and who I've sent out to do ministerial work, especially the men, I've always said, get some women around you. Don't go out doing lectures. Don't go out doing workshops by yourself, because you might be in a situation where the temptation is so great that you'll violate everything you just finished speaking about for the past 2-3 hours. Because once you do something like that, you can't go back and speak to the people. You're done. Once you lose your credibility, that's it. So you don't want to go through all this study and all this work to just lose your credibility. That's no good. So I would always tell the men, some of the man-to-man talks, I say, listen, even if, you're not maybe ready for a wife or you're not ready for a full-time relationship, they have this thing now called friends with benefits. Get someone who you can release your sexual tension with, so you don't go into the room doing a lecture with all that beast in your eyes. And, because women can see when the beast is in your eyes, One of my sons, my youth, he's Shango. The beast is always in his eye, wherever son, calm down. He's just got that electricity. He needs it, So that's what I'm saying. You got to kind of be honest about where you are in your disposition. And that, again, goes for men, and that goes for women as well. You got to get your house in order. And that's that root chakra identity stuff. That's why we start with the red, with the root, because it's dealing with the id, the identity. And then you go up. But you got to deal with securing your physical resources first. And that's not just your food, clothing, and shelter. That's also your companionship. Those are the things that when you go out now, you're going out with a healthier perspective, and whatever it is that you're teaching about, it's not colored and shaded by your desperation. So just give that some thought. And that, like I said, that was a side point. But when it came up and we were discussing, I said, there's no way I can't not speak to this. Especially as a father of females. There's no way. And again, some of you women are out there to be kind. I've had women who've called me about other priests and said, yeah, such and such happened, and we were sleeping together, and he never told his wife. Come on. The problem is not that he's a dirty priest. The problem is that he didn't leave his wife for you. So sometimes you got to be honest too. And I don't always go in. You guys have heard me before, especially with the live calls. I don't go in for the nonsense. Just because someone says something doesn't mean it's true. Most of the time it's not true. But this one, it was like, I have heard this before, and then it was too many of them saying it. I said, no. We have to speak on this. And it doesn't mean it's going to stop, but at least for those of you listening to me, let me just let you know, we don't need to see your chochak. We don't need to see your knockers. We don't need to see your rump to do any type of spiritual work. And when I say we, I want to make it clear again, I'm not lumping myself with every Babalawo. I'm saying we who know what we're doing. And we are dinosaurs. There's not too many of us out here who actually know what they're doing. You know, I mean, someone may have asked for a picture like that just to try to generate enough sexual energy to use that to channel into the work. Because they didn't have the ashe. They couldn't pull it. They couldn't will it. There's a lot of reasons why people do what they do. But no, that's not something that's supposed to happen. So yeah, just real quick, like I said, we were recapping and we were going through the concepts of race first and why it's so critical and why it's so important to understand why that balance and that harmony needs to be in existence. Because each thing feeds off of another thing. Each thing works with another thing. And you have to understand, despite the tags, despite the protocols and the identities that you try to change and put on your energetic projection of your race, life is always going to take over. For example, Bruce Jenner, we'll use him for example. Bruce Jenner, now because he feels like he's a girl, he wants everyone to call him Caitlyn. And I think by statute, you have to in many environments, right? So, whatever, right? But here's the deal. If Bruce stops taking those hormone pills, he becomes Bruce again. So, despite our imposition on our natural designations, your natural designations, when you pull back or when you're unable to maintain them, they're going to quickly take right over again. One of the shows I like to watch is The Walking Dead. I told you guys I like post-apocalyptic movies, but post-apocalyptic movies and shows. And The Walking Dead, of course, you not like that. But I always like to see how, a lot of it is phony because it's like, okay, 3 years have passed and like the world is in ruin. That's like a little, it's a little excessive. Or even when you watch the movie I Am Legend, and he's going through Manhattan and there's deers running through and there's grass and there's lions obviously escaped from the zoo walking through Manhattan. And to me, it's always a beautiful thing when I look at that and I say, you can build your bridges, you can build your tunnels, you can build your roads, but as soon as you step back, as soon as you're no longer there, the natural environment is going to take right back over again. Well, that's kind of how life works, right? You can do whatever you want. You can define this however you want. You can define your racial designation however you want. You can define your gender and sexual designation however you want. But as soon as you pull back from that id activity, from trying to dominate and control what already is naturally evolving, nature is going to take back over. You can't get away from it. As a melanin dominant man, I can pretend that I'm not melanin dominant. And I can do things that would maybe emulate or mimic someone who is not melanin dominant. But as soon as I lose my strength and my vigor to keep that up, my melanin dominance is going to kick back in. And that consciousness that exists inside of being melanin dominant, that protocol, as I spoke about to you before when we were dealing with the Book of Eli, that base and rudimentary and primal imperative, that's always going to kick back in because that's the natural processes of my life. You see? So it's almost like a waste of time. It's almost like a waste of time to fight it. It's almost like trying to put processors in Africoid hair. This is the interesting thing. And the sisters and I speak about this a lot. We joke about it. But you look at melanin dominant women, we'll say this maybe late 60s, 70s, right? If they're not wearing wigs, they all got little fros. Why? Because of years of putting those perms in their hair and wearing those wigs, and I don't even know all the stuff now, the weaves and everything, they lose their hair anyway. So they end up going natural. They get these little short fros. And they say, I like it. It's so easy. I just get up in the morning. I don't have to do anything. I just... You ain't got no choice. You burnt all your hair out. But what happens is that the natural process is still there. It's going to take back over anyway. Now you got the same fro that we was trying to give you 30, 40 years ago that you kept trying to suppress. And look at you now. What do they also do when they get to that age? Because that's when the Obatala energy kicks in. They lay off the meat, they lay off the spicy stuff, they're not eating candy all the time, they go to bed on time, things like that. They start to go back into their own natural processes. So it's the same thing when we're looking at race relations. Despite the designations that we want to put on different things and that we want to impose on what we perceive to be our racial positioning, nature's going to kick back in. Nature's going to kick back in. And that goes for those who we perceive to be predatorial, those who we perceive to be the prey. You're gonna fall back into your natural position. You really can't avoid that. The thing is, the mixing and matching is vital at times, because that's what we call the experience. When you step outside of yourself, when you even step outside of your own truth. Stepping outside of your own truth allows you the beauty of experience, which now really fulfills your divine purpose. Because it's all about the experience, you see? But you have to have that base and that rooting. That's why I race first. Because after I experience and I'm flying, I'm all over the place, I'm doing this, let me eat some Indian food, let me eat some Chinese food, let me eat some Moroccan food, what works best for me? We're still going to have to come back to that imperative at some point. And really that imperative should be the drive for whatever it is that we're doing, regardless, if we're thinking correctly, So yeah, these are important points that I just kind of wanted to recap and sum up for this month. I know the last Sunday of the month is supposed to be a live segment, but in fact, I have to work with some people at the time of the show, so I wasn't able to do a live one. And I didn't call on the students to do a live one because they held me down first Sunday. So I said, I don't want to pull on them again. They probably would have done it if I asked them, but I said, I don't want to just keep pulling on people like that. So yeah, so we did it like this. I also want to let you guys know, for anyone who's a student, if you want to join the panel at the end of the month, you can just call in 347-945-7680 or 347-945-7680. If you're a non-new student, just call in. If you want to share your experiences, we know you always got your questions. You want to ask your questions, whatever it is, but be a part of that. Be a part of that, especially if you're a student, because a lot of times, and I've said this so many times, I don't know if it's sunk in or not, but people are not nearly as confident as they pretend to be. I'm telling you, they really aren't. So when they're going through lessons and whatnot, a lot of times they're confused. I was speaking about this the other day with Sister Kim. We were working on the next webinar, and I was breaking some things down with her, and she was like, wow, it's like we're really breaking everything down. I said, listen, people don't understand as much as they pretend they do. It's just this, they're arrogant. So you'll use certain words and they're like, I got you. And then even if you ask, do you understand what I just said? It's soaking in, I'm processing, but go ahead. They don't understand. So you have to really break things down in a certain way. And you gotta respect the fact that many people jumped right in the way they got here. They didn't have 10, 20, 15 years of just being a part of this culture. So then when they start learning and studying, it's like, okay, I'm grooving. Some people really are struggling, but they're afraid to say something about it because they assume that they're the only one struggling. Don't assume that. I used to have an instructor years ago where a lot of times we would go over different theories and stuff, and he would always say this. He was like, I don't mean to sound messed up, man, but that's why nobody knows anything. He said they don't know anything. We would talk about different priests, or people from other Ilays would sometimes come and we work with them and stuff, and we would really go in because he really respected. He's always say, Haru, you're a genius. You're a genius. You're a swamp priest genius. And because he felt that way about me, he would respect the theories I would bring to the table, and we've really explored. I I'd bring him something, he'd cut it open. All right, let's see, let's look at it. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, wow, yeah. You know, so then when other people would come, you know, non-studiers, the dancers and the singers, you know, they just had that part. He'd just be like, this is why I don't interact with people. They're just too religiousized and they don't know anything. And at the time, I guess I didn't want to believe it. But then as you move forward and you interact and you get, you know, you're in situations where you have more people coming to you as the Baba, it's like, man, yeah, nobody's teaching you guys anything. Because they don't know it. They don't have it to give you, you know. So I say all that to say, don't feel bad about not knowing. We're in the information age, but a lot of this stuff is regurgitated, and because there's so much information, it's very hard to connect the dots. You know, so that's what the teachers really do. They show you how the stars are connecting. They let you know, like, hey man, look up at them stars. Look complicated, right? Hey man, you're just looking at a circuit board. That's all. That's a galactic circuit board. This is actually a big computer. That's a circuit board. There's a hard drive. Boom, boom, boom. There's the power source, you know. So a teacher is able to do that because of their perspective, you know. But don't feel bad about not knowing stuff, man. Trust me, don't feel bad about it. You know, there's a lot to learn and there's a lot to know. And that's why it's good. I like when the students speak and they share their experiences and things like that. Because you can also hear their growth. But also in traditional protocol, and even in our new protocol, you got a question, you go to a student first. You don't come to me. You know, you go to a student and you try to work it out amongst the student community. And then if it needs to be escalated to me, then I'll deal with it. One of the reasons why I don't do the live shows as much anymore. You know, let the students deal with that, because the best way to learn something is by teaching it. So they're growing just by having to feel things and doing things that they think they couldn't do. And even when they're doing those shows and stuff, I'm in the background messaging, like, you know, question comes up, it's too hard, I'm here, say this, you know. But yeah, so just participate and enjoy that. But anyway, this has been our Chief Speaks, and I trust that you've received something from it as it pertains to balance and harmony amongst the racial communities and understanding our dualistic relationship between energy and matter, and how that relationship keeps the balance as well of our racial designation, and a trenistic reality, which is how we're moving about the earth, what's happening in our superconsciousness, what's happening in our subconsciousness. As we say, above and below. As above, so below. Well, what about the middle? The middle is what we're living right now, you see. And then so a lot of times I know we say the above is the heaven and the below is the earth, but we, even here on the earth, we still have a subconscious perspective. You know, we still have this idea that, and that sometimes that's your ancestral perspective, that there's something happening underlying that's orchestrating things that are coming above it, you know, and then there's something happening above that's sending down information and even some degree of direction and guidance to what's below it. And we're in the middle just being compressed by both of these realities of heaven and hell, or angels and demons, if you want to look at it that way. It's awesome. It's an awesome experience. But all right, I will see you all next Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, for more Chief Speaks. Make sure, if you have not, that you sign up for the next webinar, Crystals. I spoke to you about it, and we're building it and designing it. And this one it's actually more expensive because we're doing them like classes now. So we're both excited, you know. Kim has been working hard on it, and I've been also sharing like how we can really expand it, put more stuff, because you know my thing is I'm always about the teaching and making sure that when you walk away, you got it. That's very important to me, that when you walk away, you got it, you know. So I like to give a lot of handouts, like a lot of detailed information, so we're really working on that, and the whole crew is excited about this new change. All right, so until such time, I am Chief Yuya. You have been listening to Chief Speaks, which is a product of the I New Life Global Ministries, as well as the Sadulu House Spiritual Center. If you're not a student, sign up. become a student so you can start learning and dealing with the self so that you can charge up your own original imperative. It makes you more free. You can do more things when you're rooted and grounded in the iron of what you are. Again, the Ogun reference. All right. Peace, everyone.
So self-actualization is actualizing the mission and idea of the soul. In order for new life to come, the old life has to rock. We've realized the self is actually that higher entity, that which controls God. You're supposed to birth yourself into these realities and then kill yourself out of those realities. That's the only escape from the matrix. It's that everything here is dying. Everything here is corrupted. Everything, even your beautiful sunset, is a corruption of the real sun. What is your body to your soul? A vehicle of travel. What are the things that you do that are not for money? So we speak about the independent phenomenon of self-actualization. No rules. I'm going to do what I need to do, but I'm also going to show you the depth of my power.
Anu Nation is home to the Anu spiritual order founded by Chief Jegna Haru Yuya Asan Anu. Some of the components of Anu Nation are Anu Life Global Ministries, Enlightenment and Transformation, Sadulu House, and Osiris Life Spiritual Services. SaduluHouse.com is the school component of Anu Nation, where spiritual empowerment through education and training is emphasized. One way that is accomplished is through our monthly webinars. Our webinars are packed with foundational information, rituals, and live instruction to empower your spiritual work. At SaduluHouse.com, you can view our diverse list of topics for this year that range from meditation to sex magic. And you can also register for any of the webinars at your convenience, sign up for our introductory Orisha class, schedule a spiritual reading, and sign up for the Anu Spiritual Training course. Enlightenment and Transformation is the media component of Anu Nation. Here, you can view all of our archived shows from over the years to our current segments. They include Chief Speaks, Masterminds Monday, Anu Asafo, Thunderground Thursdays, and Foundational Fridays. You can also visit us on our YouTube channels. They are Enlightenment and Transformation, Orisha Yoruba, and Anu Nation. Osiris Life Spiritual Services is for those who are ready to take the necessary actions to bring your life into holistic balance. Here we offer consistent monthly one-on-one coaching, solutions that are tailored just for you, practical hands-on self-development techniques that will accompany your monthly readings, and customized practical strategies designed for you that guarantee positive results. Simply choose the package that best fits your needs. And last but not least, AlphaOmegaStore.com. The Alpha Omega Store is our online botanica where we offer divination tools, herbs and incense, DVDs, books, and other hard-to-find ritual items. You can also get our best-selling foundational book, Grasping the Root of Divine Power. Other great works from Anu Nation are Shrine and Altar, Solutions for Dysfunctional Family Relationships, and Natural Hair for Young Women. All great books to assist you on your journey. To find out more on how to get involved with Anu Nation, visit our websites and YouTube channels and be sure to sign up for our monthly newsletter.
Chief Yuya teaches classes on spiritual growth, personal development, and indigenous ancient spirituality. They're absolutely amazing, and they are offered online so you can access them from any location across the globe. The classes are also designed so that you can go at your own pace. So, you can register at any time and enjoy the ongoing support of our online learning community.